Let's do this. Everyone here? Let's talk about innovation, okay? The terrifying word of the century, right? All right, I'm going to start with a little question. So my name is Bill O'Connor. For years and years and years, probably like 100 years, I worked here at Autodesk. I was the innovation strategist. I'll talk about that later, right? Right now, I have a double role at a place called the Vault. Tell me if I described this correctly. San Francisco Vault, basically it's like an accelerator, incubator. There's like 48 to 50 companies there, right? And those companies all work there, and there are events, et cetera, et cetera. And my role is to be a dean of the academic side, doing tons of research, a lot of which I'm going to present to you today, and also director on the services side. That's basically innovation consulting. But I'll get to all that stuff later. Let's start with a literary quote, okay? How many of you guys know the writer Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens? Anybody? All right, very good, okay. He said something about 100-something years ago that's almost funny, okay? This is one of those jokes that's almost funny. It's not quite funny. It's like this far away, right? He said, everyone complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, right? Ha ha, is that funny? It's almost a joke, right? And then today, you could argue with climate change being what it is, we might have to do something about the weather. So not so funny anymore, right? But the reason I bring that up is, my God, innovation is very similar to that, right? Everyone talks about innovation. And honestly, very few people actually do anything about it, in my opinion. And you're nodding, you agree with me, right? A lot of talk, right? Is anyone here a recovering literature major? I'm a recovering English major. Anyone else? No? Anyone in the back? No? What's that? Literature. What's that? Oh, recovering is a joke. It means it was so terrible that now I'm recovering. It's a failed joke that did not work at all, like Mark Twain, right? Okay. So it's talked about a lot. Blah, 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 talked about innovation poetry. I say I'm a recovering English major. I love poetry. I don't like innovation poetry. It's bad for companies. I like theater. I don't like innovation theater. Do you see the metaphor? Talk, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I like to talk about real innovation. And you'll see how I'll define that, but it's basically innovation that takes place in the real world, right? It's not activity only. Are there any soccer or football fans here? Anybody? Okay. Here's my metaphor, and then I'll dive into this, okay? I played soccer in high school. You and I are on the same team. There's the goal, right? If I pass the ball to you, do we get points? Oh, look at this. Look at this. Do we get points for that, yes or no? No. Should we get points for that? No. He takes a shot on goal. He misses. Do we get points for that? Should we get points for that? No. If the ball goes in, we get points, right? That's sports. Same thing for basketball. I'm a rabid Boston Celtics basketball fan. In the corporate world with innovation, it's the opposite. The parallel. What's the parallel to passing? Oh, we created an innovation lab, and we hired a very nice guy. This is my comedy routine. So I meet you at a conference, right? I guess I can do this routine again. Have you ever heard this one about the guy with the glasses? So here's the problem with innovation. I meet him at a conference. He has very cool glasses. They're square. Ooh, and they have multiple colors. And they're made from reclaimed like forest from the wood from the rainforest. Ooh, that's nice. And let me have your card. His card is round. Oh, and it's made from processed kale. It's a cool card. And what's his title? Innovation botanist. Like he grows the innovation, right? So this is the cool guy you meet at every conference. And I'll say, and his name is a cool name too. His name is Sky or something like that, right? I'm Bill, and he's Sky, and he runs an innovation lab for a cool thing. And his lieutenant her name is Maya. She's really cool too, right? And everybody's cool, and there's a venture fund, and there's angel investors, right? And you've got ping pong tables, and you've got VR, AR, and everything. So basically, in most companies, you've got some version of a corporate innovation lab, right? Sound good, right? Isn't that exciting? And if it's a $40 billion company, they can put a lot of money into those labs. I'm talking about innovation poetry. But here's the problem. I should stay on the stage, basically, right? Is that okay? Okay. So I'll do it from here. Here's the problem. You go out for drinks with Sky, and Maya is sitting over there, right? And they're nice people, and say, so this is great. You have the fund. You have all this stuff. How's the innovation going? What does he say? He's like, yeah, we're not really launching anything. You see the point? So it's activity. He's taking a shot on, we're passing the ball around, right? Most companies don't even do the equivalent of shooting on goal. Does that make sense? And so even in Silicon Valley, if you think what the last interesting, are any people affiliated with Google here? So then I can make fun of Google a little bit? Okay, good. You are? Okay. Ah, there we go. Well, unless you're really sensitive, I'm doing it anyway. I don't care. I have Gmail. This is the most sarcastic crowd I've ever been in. Even what's, wow, good one. What's the last thing that Google ever did that was innovative? Someone tell me. And Gmail does not count. Do you see what I mean? Google, most innovative company, they are, but you know, the algorithm and AdSense, right? They changed the way search works and the business model around that. That was more than 10 years ago, right? And you can have this debate if you want, right? But you see my point? It's talked about a lot. And so what I like to do, and we've developed a methodology really right in this space over 7 years that's a way to actually innovate, okay? So I want to get beyond the poetry and talk about real innovation, okay? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. But I can't, and now, full disclosure, I'm a New Yorker and a Bostonian. I've been here 22 years in the Bay Area. So everything I say about California, don't think I'm just a California guy saying, you know, I'm a New Yorker and a Bostonian who's noticed certain things about this area. And I think it's important because so much innovation happens here, right? I'm going to give you charts, I'm going to give you facts, I'm going to give you logic. But you can't leave the Bay Area without understanding Silicon Valley unless you understand the spirit of the llama. Anyone pro-llama? Who likes llamas? Who's anti-llama? Llamas in the back? O'Neill in the back, pro or anti-llama? Pro-llama, very good decision. Okay. So this is a joke slide, but I swear to God this is an important slide. The spirit of the llama, the Silicon Valley superpower. I'm going to hit you with a lot of, again, facts and analysis. And my contention is the innovation that happens in the Bay Area is at this level. In my beloved cities of New York and Boston, it's really like this at a certain way. And I have spent years trying to figure out why. Why do I care about this? Because I want to explain it to you so that you can innovate. And isn't that kind of what you're here for, right? I mean, people come here. I've done 500 of these innovation engagements in the last 7 years. And basically what people come here for, if you sum it down to a sentence, it's like, I've heard there's a lot of innovation here. I'd like to do some myself, please, right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to try to decode what I think is special about Silicon Valley and try to, and then we can talk about it. Okay. So a little bit about me. You don't have to read this. This is just to make sure you know my background. Silicon Valley, San Francisco, 20 years. I've worked at 5 startups, 2 success, 2 failures, 1 in the middle. Pretty typical. I worked here at Autodesk for more than 10 years. I'm at the Vault Innovation Academy now. That's an who knows what an accelerator is, right? Incubator? Oh, wait, are you at the Vault? You going Thursday? All right, good. That's, I forgot about that. Yeah, so you'll see it basically, right? You know this thing. It's like this. We have 48 startups in one location, okay? And the top level of what I'm doing there is I'm bringing my own research there. And also, we're going to study the startups at the place and talk to them and try to learn from them. And also study the wild startup ecosystem in San Francisco, which is pretty impressive ecosystem. So that's what I'm doing. I'm now working on the board with 3 startups, an AI one, a blockchain, Bitcoin, and a big data one. I was innovation strategist here for 7 years. I edited an emerging technology journal for about 7 years. Anything that we were wrestling with was in that journal. Hey. And then I was a CEO speechwriter for about 10 years. So when I say something, it's probably come from one of these 3 realms. My work as a strategist, my work as an editor, or my work as a CEO speechwriter, okay? And again, I've done tons of these engagements, 200 companies, 40 countries all over the world. Now you tell me if you agree with me. I'm going to show you a list. 500 times I've been doing this thing. This is what people seem to want to talk about when they come to the Valley. They want to talk about innovation, how Autodesk innovates, how does Silicon Valley innovate, how do great innovators innovate? How can we or you innovate? What's the most important number up here? Say it with me. Why? Why? It's about you, right? And again, I don't want to be theater or poetry guy. This is literally about you guys. You see the point? That's the only thing that matters. You have to sort of understand this stuff a little bit in order to get there. But again, I want to clarify that. This is really about you guys. And this is about you really getting your money and time's worth. You know, and of course, Berkeley is world class at this, coming to the Valley and going back with something, okay? So I'm going to talk a bit about this, but mostly I'm going to focus on this. This is just another path through. This is another sideway. When companies come to the Bay Area, they often get entranced with the startups. Who's been to Singularity University? You ever hear of it? Yes, exactly. Very good taste. Yes, of course. They will blow your mind, as I say, with the technologies. That's dangerous, actually. I think you have to do it in this order. First, understand the emerging technologies. Yes, never before in human history have we had so many revolutions happening at the same time. It is a wild time, right? But then you got to understand future of work. That's how these things all fit together. And how not just they all fit together, but how do they change the relationship between humans and machines? Who's read anything about future of work? Mass unemployment coming, AI putting everybody out of job. As a bleeding heart liberal, of course, I am worried about that. And one of the problems is policymakers sometimes will understand the technologies. They don't understand how they fit together. And they don't usually understand how it changes the human-machine dynamic. Does that make sense? Now, once you get that, if you're in a company, then think about innovation. So you have a company. Yeah, think about the tech and how it'll fit together and change the people, the responsibilities. Now think how your company can innovate. And then think about startups. You see the difference? If you just fly, if you land and go right to the startups, you don't know what you need necessarily, right? So I like to think of it as tech, future of work, innovation, and startups in that order. That's just a smarter way to sequence your learning, okay? Okay, let's talk about innovation a bit. First of all, here's a joke that I kind of made up. Who knows what the term lip service means? Lip service means you're just talking about stuff, right? Okay, this is relatively new content here, okay? Most large companies give innovation lip service. And what do I mean? Lip, right? Learning about innovation. Oh, we're learning about innovation. That's not innovation. You have to do it, but it's not innovation. That's like passing the ball, right? Hey, but we're inspired by innovation. Also not innovation, right? You have to do it. If you don't learn about it and get inspired, you're definitely not going to do it. Hey, and we're preparing to innovate. Remember Sky and Maya with their cool little lab? That's preparing to innovate. We have a fund. Ping pong table and a fund and VCs and everything, that's preparing to innovate. You see the difference? Where's the actual innovation? So, you know, this is my joke. Go beyond lip service. None of these things is innovation. And again, necessary but not sufficient, right? You have to do all these things. But if you stop here, you're not going to innovate. Does this help explain why we don't see a lot of innovation? Right? This is very seductive. This is fun. Are you guys having fun on this trip? It's kind of fun, right? Not right now, but in general you are, right? So anyway, I just want to make it clear. This is not innovation, but this is what 95% of the world does when they want to innovate. Let's take it further, right? Okay. So now definition. Okay, years ago, I was CEO speechwriter. We were doing all these speeches, and it occurred to us that we didn't know what innovation was. Now, you guys know Autodesk at all, right? A little bit. You saw the tour. Building industry, manufacturing, and entertainment. We make software for a lot of creative people. So and then we started doing a lot of speeches about innovation. You know what the problem is? So my CEO would stand up in a keynote and talk about innovation. Then I started giving the talks. The problem with being eloquent about innovation, people think that you know what you're talking about. We did not. Because you could come up to me and say, that was a great speech, and, but can you help me innovate? And the answer was, we have some software to sell you. You see the difference? That's different than innovating, right? So at some point we thought, let's find out exactly what innovation is. This is the best definition I can find. We created this. This is 4 years old. If you can improve it, I'll give you a cookie or something, right? I should have a prize up here for anyone that can improve this, right? But this is what I think innovation is. And more than being good at innovation poetry, if you adopt this definition, it's much more likely that you'll actually innovate. See if you agree. Innovation is the art of establishing something different or new out in the real world that has a significant impact. First of all, it's an art. It's not a science. It's not a science. If this is the company and that's the market, and I'm a PhD that runs my company, I think that I can prove mathematically that this innovation will work, right? You can't. Or I'm not going to launch anything until I can prove it, right? You see this all the time in tech companies. It's an art. Art includes art and science. There's emotion, there's instinct. Steve Jobs was an example of that. So again, first thing is don't think of it as a science. It's an art, right? Two other things, significant impact. The brilliant machines are coming, folks. AI, VR, AR, IoT, right? Just picture as a giant wave that's coming. What will humans do for work in the future? They're going to do creative stuff. They're going to do imaginative stuff. They're going to do the intellectual stuff, the surprising stuff, all that stuff, right? So when you innovate, you better have a significant impact. Don't tell me, you know, this is, we made 9% better. Ooh, good for you. That's not significant. The machines are going to do that. That's your day job. Actually, that's the machine's job, right? So significant impact is key. Different or new. We've studied 350 innovations. 80-ish% of them are different. Is the iPhone the first smartphone, yes or no? No, it's different in radical ways, but it wasn't close to the first one. Most things are different. Some things are new. Here's the most important part. Establishing it in the world. That's getting the ball in the goal, right? Do you see why nobody measures it by that, right? This is another common thing. I'll make you the CEO. Again, 500 engagements. So, you know, Bob, you know, Mr. Fancy CEO, you know, how's the innovation going? and he will describe Sky and Maya and the lab and everything. And I say, what did you do in the last 3 years? What have you brought to the world that has a significant impact? What's the most common answer? Does this face look good? And that's a very common answer. I mean, publicly they have to say this, this, that, but really, very often establishing, and do you know what the word establishing means? It doesn't mean that I launched it. Who remembers Microsoft launched a music player called the Zune? Anybody? I hope you still don't have one. You probably saved it like a museum piece. They launched it to the world. Did it get established in the world? No, no. The iPhone did. So that's what if the power goes out right now and we have to stop, if you remember one thing from me, it's that when you hear the word innovation, think established in the world, right? Do you realize how high that is? Yes, go ahead.
Just to answer regarding the comment regarding the CEO, same answer we got our organization that we cannot get it out into the world before we patent it. So the patenting
terrible.
process or
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Very stupid. and I hope I'm insulting somebody. No.
All the IPs
No.
and stuff.
All right, here's something that I heard when I first got to Silicon Valley and didn't believe. In human history, generally speaking, the biggest threat to your new idea is not that someone's going to steal it. That is extremely rare. Don't watch Facebook. Who saw The Social Network? Don't think about the Winklevoss people. Like, that does happen. The biggest threat is you not getting to market quickly enough. Right? And again, the Bay Area is the capital of this as far as I can tell. I mean, and again, it's to a crazy level. Sharing things, giving things away, right? There is a limit, but the short answer to me is, and patents is a terrible way to measure innovation. If you really look at what has impact. Who leads in patents the last 5 years? HP and Cisco? HP is not an innovative company. So you see my point? And we can debate this later. But so the idea that we have to patent it first is crazy because it slows you down. Yeah.
Do you need to add any time frame to that statement?
No. Like what?
Like, instead people wasting 10 years to get something into the world.
I think because I'm in San Francisco, it's a given. Here, as fast as possible, right? That's my time frame. Yeah. Yeah. These guys both have cookies, right? All right. And we can talk about this later, but I'm gonna get through it. But happy to talk about that. So the main thing is establish it in the world. And by the way, if this is the company and that's the market, if we think, oh God, we have to establish it in the world, I have to create something so great that you bring it into your life, are we going to work differently? Yeah, we're going to work a lot differently. We're going to talk about design thinking and the emotional side and the unexpected side. We can't just launch it. We have to make them love it and bring it into their lives. You see how that's different? So to me, innovation is only about establishing something in the world. It's a much, much higher bar. Yes? Yes. Yes.
So they haven't launched anything. So what do you recommend to the Business Innovation Lab? Do we shut it down?
No.
Or do we put KPIs on top of them and say,
It's closer to the second one. So I'm going to answer that to some degree. So our question was, what do you do with that lab and Sky and Maya and all the nice people? No, generally, my general recommendation these days is good, have an innovation lab. But here's an idea, actually do some innovation in it. That's like if you built a beautiful basketball court and there's balls everywhere and nobody's playing. Don't shut the court down. Go out on the court and actually play. So I'll show you how I think you should do that. But no, in 2018, at this point, I go back and forth. I think it's good to have an innovation lab if you do innovation there. It's not good if building the lab means that's the end of the thing, right? So the short answer is I think it's still a good thing to do. Okay. So that's a bit about innovation, and I'm a little pressed for time, so I'm going to jump ahead, but that's my working assumption for innovation. Let's talk a little bit about how Autodesk innovates. This was my day job for years, all these cool technologies, right? Including blockchain, which is going insane, right? We didn't just try to work these into the portfolio, but we also watched how our people did it to learn how they innovated, right? If you're an AI guy at Autodesk, I don't care what you did so much, I do, but I care how you did it. You see the difference? If I learn how he did something cool, I can turn it into a technique and I can teach it to him, right? So we're always looking for the transferable insights. Yes? Bio-nano. Yeah, health, bio-nano. At Autodesk, it means visualizing complex things happening inside the body, anything to do with health and that kind of a thing, right? And by the way, too, this has never happened in human history, as far as I can tell. This level of radical technologies, this has never happened before. It didn't happen in agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, the first web revolution. We're in the midst of something right now we've never even close to seen before. And that would probably be true if this was the only thing on this list, right? This alone is going to be a massive game changer. And now add all the other stuff, right? Remember what I said about significant impact? When I started this project, you know, it was 2011, and I would sort of say, come on, you should really innovate, it's good. Now it's an imperative. Because what are you going to do for a living 10 years from now? This is the wave of technologies coming. You guys know this is coming, right? The human being response to this has got to be on the side of innovation, using all this stuff in smart and innovative ways, okay? So I've become much more radical in the way I say you have to innovate. If you say, if I'm 55, if you're 30 years old now, and you sort of go, yeah, I don't really need to innovate, allow me to send you this slide. Because this is what's coming. And this is the context in which we have to think about what we do as professionals, okay? There's tremendous potential here, but there's also a tremendous threat to current jobs. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is a bit how Autodesk innovates. We try to put this in the portfolio for you guys, but we're also watching how we all innovate to get practices. All right, Silicon Valley. This might be my most fun part of the thing. Okay. I started to think about, who's ever heard of Adobe? Google, you know these names, right? LinkedIn, Salesforce. I started thinking, is the Bay Area really that much better on innovation, right? And I started just from the top of my head. Things like Wikipedia, YouTube. Until these companies were there was nothing like that company, right? And then I did a little research. Massive scale, unique experience, innovative breakthroughs, revolutionary impact. M-U-I-R, Muir companies, right? And you know, you can debate this list if you want. This is 40. There's 57 in the Bay Area. I didn't even have time for them. And I can give you all these slides. That's fine. So listen to my argument here, right? 57 Muir companies. And you guys are getting what I'm saying? Like when I say to you Pixar, right? The iconic nature of that, right? 57 of those companies in the Bay Area, which basically has 8 million people. Okay, now here's a fun question. How many of this level companies are there in Boston, Massachusetts? Somebody yell up the number. 3? None? Well, who said what? Someone said none, right? I think the answer is none, but you're close as well. You would think there'd be 50, and back there, I'd love to hear your take on this. I can't find one, right? You have MIT, you got Harvard, right? Yeah, do people start companies from there? Yes, they do. Do they get angel and VC and they scale up? Yes, they do. Do they launch successful startups in Boston? Yes, they do. Do they get exits and they get acquired? Yes, they do. Do they reach this level? No, they do not. Why? Boston Dynamics, the company that builds the robots. You ever see this? And they always test it by kicking the dog. It's just sad because I have a dog and then the thing gets up. That doesn't scale. General Electric did it for the tax breaks, which is fantastic. Maybe in the bio space. But just generally speaking, right? Tech is not enough. We do something else here. Now think about New York. How many of these companies are in New York? Can anyone name one? Kickstarter and Etsy. Maybe, right? By the way, I was embarrassed. I was giving a presentation. I usually say New York only has one. And he came up to me after and said, dude, I'm the president of Kickstarter. I was like, ooh, I forgot. That's my bad, right? But my point is, Bay Area, 8 million people, 57 companies. New York, most other cities are between 0 and 2. Why? You see the point? Is anyone interested in this? Is anyone here right now? Raise your hand if you're here. Anybody? Okay, good. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So this was fascinating to me. What is happening here, right? Here's one thing that's happening, 7 characteristics that I've been talking about for 7 years. This is what makes the Bay Area different, folks, okay? First of all, we're fascinated with doing something new, next, better. More than any other place I've been. And related, we're focused on making the world a better place. Not always, but very often. Percentage of people here that really want to improve things is very high. Then, exploration. We know innovation requires exploration. Risk failure is okay. Please stop talking about risk and failure. Those are the side products. I want a culture of failure. I want a culture of risk. No, those are the byproducts of exploration, right? These 3 things go together. We also have a bias for action. Design it, code it, found something, launch something, damn it, right? These are the 4 mindsets that, and again, on a 1 to 10, the Bay Area is probably an 8 out of a 10. Most other cities that I've ever been to, what's the number on a 1 to 10? 2 to 5, right? And again, this is the soft stuff. Now you might say, but build the ecosystem. This ecosystem is a result of the mindset. You see the difference? We were not born with this. This comes from all this stuff, right? So please stop trying to copy the ecosystem. This is hilarious. We're hoping that Finland will have the Silicon Valley, silicon ice. Have you seen this, right? It's always silicon and a natural feature, right? In Ireland, it's a silicon bog. We have to have silicon bog, right? And it's never going to work ever, ever, ever. You can't copy the ecosystem, but you don't have to. And by the way, we have great academia, so do you, okay? Everybody has a good academia. So watch, 4 mindsets that exist not very many other places. We only will have this, I believe. You already have this. Here's the most important thing on the board. In Silicon Valley, ideas are good until proven bad instead of bad until proven good. You see how important that is? Most places, she tells me an idea, even if I like her, I'm basically like, no, why? Prove it to me. I don't see the sales projection. Just that's the way humans think. We want to avoid the pain. In the Bay Area, it's flipped. The most common response to his crazy idea out here, and I'm going to do this accent, is like, sure, let's try it, right? Does anyone know this California accent I'm doing? It's like my italics, right? So do you see the point here? Stop looking at this. This is money and places and the most famous companies in the world, right? Stop looking at this. You already have this. You have to look at these 5 mindsets. Does that make sense? The mindsets will create, the soft stuff creates the hard stuff. Fortunately, the soft stuff is also stuff that you can take away wherever you go from here. You can be more like this. Again, only if you want to innovate. Does that make sense? All right, so I've been presenting this slide for 20 years. It never changes. It's almost a scary thing, but I believe all of this is true. Here's another thing about Silicon Valley. We created this about 10 years ago, Innovation Continuum. Every innovation in human history, no exceptions, goes through 5 phases. You could tell me any innovation, I'll tell you what phase it's in. Think about human flight. Human flight was at first impossible, phase 1. And then in 1903, what happened? The Wright brothers, boom, it became impractical. Not practical, but not impossible. Then the value gets higher. Then it becomes widely possible, boom, that's the peak. Airports, planes, pilots, people flying, business is changing because of that. But then flight becomes expected and required. In other words, like, wow, people are flying. It's fantastic. And now it's like, oh, I got to fly again. I'm so bored with airports, right? Or in other words, everything goes from impossible to invisible. Electric light in 1839 was basically invented. It was impossible. It's become required or invisible. Is anyone looking at me right now thinking, God, I love electric light? Anybody? Anybody that boring in this room? You don't care about the light. Do you see the point? I hope not. Is there any fans of light back there? You better not be. I'll walk out right now. I will do it. So this is the point. Everything starts out as impossible, and then it becomes invisible. You see the point? You know, everything, the internet, etc. So do you know what numbers is Silicon Valley like? Just yell it out. Yes, but 1 and 2 also. Most cultures around the world are afraid of this. If he's your boss, you're going to walk into his office with an impossible idea that's never been done before. That feels a little dangerous, right? This place, more than most places, loves impossible. And we also like impractical. Now we're scaling up and everything. And then there's the big exit. And you know what the person does after they exit? They go back to here, right? You know, because this region tends to get bored over here. That's why you have people who live, especially over the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin. And now watch what they're really saying. Oh, yes, I've had 5 successful exits. You know what that means? Yeah, they got rich 5 times, right? Good for you. And by the way, you look very healthy because they just cycle back to here and they help the next new person. You see the point? This flywheel effect is a lot of what's happening here. So my point is, again, you come to Silicon Valley, if you want to be more like Silicon Valley, you have to embrace this. You see the point? You have to embrace the new idea that nobody's thinking about and people are going to mock and make fun of and challenge until you force it through here. Does that make sense? The other thing about Silicon Valley, again, is llamas. I'm just going to show you the llama picture, and I'm going to tell you the joke later. But I'll give you a little hint. This joke is about ideas. And it's about the difference between how you present ideas. If he gives me the idea anywhere else, again, I'm rejecting it at first, prove it to me. Here, there's more of a flip default, which is around it's good until proven bad. Okay? So I'll tell you that one later. All right. How do great innovators innovate? IBNU. Does anyone know what this means? No? I made it up. You can't. It's a joke. Okay. It's a stupid joke. Interesting but not useful. Who knows what that means? Who's ever been IBNU? Come on. Oh, you're all intrinsically useful? Okay. So I'm going to tell you, I'm sure you're very useful people. I'm going to tell you about IBNU and how this started the whole thing. I was the CEO speechwriter. I'm glad this is being recorded because my former CEO would hopefully agree with this. I'm a new speechwriter. I told you this a little bit. This great guy from New York, his name was Carl Bass. And he's like, all right, we got to, they want us to talk about innovation. So we're standing in a room, and you're Carl Bass, and I was like, well, what is it? And he's, I don't know what it is. I thought you knew what. I don't know what it is. You're the speechwriter. You're the CEO. We got to figure something out, right? So we did a talk about the what is it, And then a few other things got some applause. Good. It's like 2007. Then we get another speech coming up. What are we going to do? I was like, all right, invention versus innovation. That's a good one. Did a whole talk on that. Clap, clap, clap. Good. OK, I guess they liked it. Oh, do another one. Incremental versus big breakthroughs. That's a whole other talk. Now we're getting known for giving the talks, right? Finally, is innovation an individual thing or is it a cultural thing? Did a whole 55-minute talk on that, right? Innovation poetry, right? Now I'm giving the talks. I'm standing in front of people like you. Innovation, blah, 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 blah. Interesting but not useful. See the problem? He comes up to me afterwards and says, I have a $5 billion company. I'm in charge of learning. Can you help me? No, I can't. Buy the software. Why can't you just buy the software? Why are you coming to me about innovation? Well, because I'm talking about it up on stage, right? You see how it goes like this? So at some point, I went to my boss and I said, we have to study all of the innovations because I want to know how to innovate. You see the point? I don't know you, but I was thinking about people like you. There's a guy standing here, and I got to be able to give him something real, right? And so the idea was, if we study the full history of innovation, we will get deep principles. And you see the point? We're going to study it in all different realms, going back millions of years, and then, and only then, can I learn something that I can actually teach you. This was really because I didn't want to be Ibnu anymore, right? I wanted to be useful. That's how this whole thing started. 7 years later, we've done it with 200 groups. You can see by this, it's basically all kinds of groups. Famous tech companies, startup type things, US government, Starbucks, Amazon, etc. We've done it in 40 countries. I show you this mostly because I want you to know what I'm showing you has been tested. We've tested it and we've proven it. We're going to prove it again today. I'm actually hoping you guys will help me develop a new technique, which is a great example with all of these companies. Whenever we had a technique, we just tested it out with them. No ego attached. Like, I don't know, try it, see if it works. That's why I believe this stuff actually works, because we tested it so many times. OK. Yes? Yes, please. Yeah. No, this map, you know what? This map is like it's like 5 years old. Yes. Yes, OK, yes, yeah. Yeah, we will fix this. Now that I'm at my new place, we are absolutely going to fix this. Yeah, I promise, yeah. Good catch, though, exactly, right. Yeah. This is old. This is very old content at this point. OK. OK, so the idea was, so the idea was 1,000 innovations, right? Now, that sounds like a lot. Has anyone here ever read a book on innovation? Who's ever read a book? Most books on innovation talk about how many innovations. It's between 6 and like 42, right? You guys know Stephen Johnson in the back? Innovation writer. He wrote a book about 6 innovations once. And it's a good book, but is that useful? Not really. It's not a big enough data set, right? So the idea was, let's get 1,000 innovations going back millions of years. We'd have to be fools to not learn something essential about innovation. That was kind of the goal, OK? So what do we have now? 5 techniques and a methodology. Really do. Stuff that I'm going to teach you today, and hopefully it could work for you. OK. Let me get back to the beginning. This is the stone hand axe in Topeka, Africa. It's the first innovation in the world. Does anyone here watch the cartoon The Flintstones? Anybody? Wilma invented this, and Fred got the credit. You got it. I'm going to refer to you as Wilma from now on. I think a proto-woman invented this. This is the point I'm making. The pre-innovation state, this is the first innovation. The pre-innovation state, post-innovation state. Pre-innovation state was this. I hope I find some sharp rocks. Did you see any? I need them to cut the meat and cut the plants. I need the rocks were out. I hope I find them. That's kind of dumb, right? And some genius, I really do think it was a woman. I'm referring to the table of women over there. It was you folks that said to the husband, what, are you crazy? Just take any rock and flint it and you have a tool, right? That's so simple, right? First innovation. But the point is, pre-innovation state, post-innovation state, status quo, status novo. Everyone here should think your work is in the status quo. Why? You want to make the leap. This is the innovation leap. This is the thing we've studied 350. Do you see the leap here? And by the way, everybody knew the way you did is look for rocks. And maybe he got status. He's great at finding the rocks, right? And so the first time she says, no, you don't look for rocks, do it this way, he got mad, didn't he? Right? Because so the status quo is always dumber than the innovation, but it's very strong, right? So I want you to think status quo, status novo. Now, what's this? The iPhone. What's the pre-innovation state to the iPhone? It rhymes with Schmackberry. Anybody? Anybody? Blackberry, right? OK. Schmackberry. BlackBerry to here was a leap, right? 348 other leaps. What's your leap? Are you working on anything interesting right now? If you are, I just say draw a circle around it. That's the status quo. What are you going to jump to? How are you going to jump? How are you going to do something that just goes whoosh, as big as this, as big as this? That's the only purpose of this talk today, right? I mean, I can talk for hours about this, but the purpose is to help you to do what you're meant to do and what you can do, okay? So how about who invented the stone hand axe? Let's give her a round of applause. Yay! This is the actual person, I swear to God. 3.5 million, isn't she beautiful? And now you're like, Bill, you're showing me rocks and monkeys. What are you doing, right? Who knows who Elon Musk is? Who thinks he's an innovator? All hands should be up. I can wait, right? Innovation has not changed in millions of years. Look at the eyes on these two people. Do you see? You got it. And yes, it did take me an hour to find the slide. And yes, he's going to sue me. I don't care. He should be proud. You see the point? This is the full scope. This is the full scope of our innovation history, right? I'm very proud of this. And the idea is we study the whole thing. That's how we learn innovation techniques. We had 5 periods in history, 5 types of innovations. This is the first list, right? This is too technologically focused. This was wrong. This is a better list. You know why? Democracy, is that an innovation? Yeah, it is. What's the pre-innovation state? Really kind of Egyptian monarchy, you could say, or really from that region of the world. They made a leap. Corporation, before that, Magna Carta, mercantilism made a leap. Before Braille, blind people can't read, they made a leap. I don't care so much about the innovation as the leap. See the point? The innovation's already been done. I care about the leap because you guys should be making leaps, and I need to be making leaps, right? So we did this. We studied this with students from UC Berkeley and also Hult, with the students that helped us with this. And we've studied 350 so far. So again, this is historical stuff. This is in the data, the stuff I'm going to show you. So let's now jump a bit to how you guys can innovate, okay? Do you see the point? We studied 350 innovations, not for their own sake and make it an intellectual exercise, but to figure out the leap from the status quo, okay? This is what we found. 5 techniques, 5 very simple techniques, and I will outline them. And there's videos online and the videos at the vault, right? But I'll give you the top level. And again, we did not find these in order. And Steve Jobs, Da Vinci, Benjamin Franklin, they didn't have these 5 in their office, right? But all great innovators have to do these 5 things. You can do this as a professional, somebody who runs a team, guy that runs a division, woman that runs a company, or a country. This doesn't matter. This is how you innovate at some level, all the way from professional up to organization, okay? So you create an innovation environment, a map. Let's pretend, since you're the CEO, right? He cannot hold all the things that they could innovate on. He can't hold that in his head. It's too complex. And even if he's very smart and his team is very smart, they'll have different mental models. No, you have to draw a map, and I'll show you how to do it, right? Actually, let's say she's smart. She owns the map. She owns the innovation map. And by the way, if I'm the board of directors, watch this. What are you doing about innovation, CEO? You turn to her, she's doing the map, right? But you can say this is a more structured way to do it, right? Remember the 10 technologies? Things are moving too quickly for you to not do a map. Do you see the point? You can't hold it in your head. I actually think you should do the map and post it so that everyone in your company can contribute to it. But you have to do a map first, and it's not a strategy map, and I'll show you how to do it. Then the map will engender innovation targets. That's what you focus on. Each target, there's a way to generate the widest range of ideas. Then, when you have a lot of ideas for the one target, there's a way to prioritize them. That is new, we believe. And finally, you turn them into projects, okay? I want to make a point here. This is divergent thinking, the widest range, but then targets convergent thinking. For each innovation, widest range of ideas, and then convergent, what should we do? And then emergent. You see the point? That's how you don't miss anything, okay? Yes? Say it again? Is talent part of environment? Is talent? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is. No, it's not actually. It's part of, I'll show it to you later. In my mind, it's part of metrics. Yeah, you mean the people side of it, right? Yeah, I will talk about that. Make sure to ask that question if we have time. Yeah, it's in a thing coming up called metrics. So these are the 5 things, and we kind of discovered them in this order. We discovered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I don't know if we created them, we discovered them, but they do work, okay? And I really believe you cannot innovate effectively without all 5 of these at least some way. So let's talk about it. All right, CEO, how are you going to draw the map? Start with your company, your customers, your competition, your contacts. Basic business school stuff, but nothing goes on here except if it's innovation. Not strategy, not your dreams and hopes and your objectives and your money, all that stuff. This is only about innovation. Technologies go up here, the innovation group, what's your competition doing. This map, when you draw it is very messy and very beautiful, right? But she's going to update the map until she retires and he retires, right? This has to be a living document. Things are moving too quickly. And also, when you see this fleshed out, you will make connections. Visualization leads to innovation. You'll go, oh, I got to do that connection. You're not going to only make that in your head, right? So the first technique is some sort of a mental model around innovation, okay? The second one is, well, that's going to engender targets, right? Large corporations, I think, should have between 8 and 12 innovation targets. If you have 2, I say there's more than that emerging technologies. If he says they have 47, that's too many. I don't believe it. 8 to 12 seems to be like a sweet spot, right? And a target has to be kind of crazy. Generative design is a technology that allows, when we're building a building, to tell the computer what we want, and it shoots out different options. So here's an example of a good innovation target. I actually was working with a large architectural firm, and so generative design, how quickly are you going to do it? Now, this was the dialogue. I said, do you like generative design? He said, yes. How quickly are you going to incorporate that? This was the exact answer, something like this. Now, watch the body language. Well, I think we might, see, he's laughing, I think we might do a little generative on, 1 or 2 projects over the next 4 years. Is that a good or a bad answer? It's a terrible answer. And I literally went like, boring, right? Why is that a bad answer? Now, first of all, because you can do better. But more importantly, watch this. If you just say, oh, if you put a boring thing in this here, and now you're going to generate ideas, what kind of ideas are you going to generate? This boring, the same, if the target is boring at company A, company B, company C, everyone's working on the same thing. That's not innovation, right? What you do is you make it, so I said, no, you're going to get generative design to 25% of your major projects in the next year. You know you have a good target when you have this emotional reaction. Can you see me? That's a good target. You know why? In order to do that impossible thing, you will have to have thoughts no one on earth has ever had. That's exciting, isn't it? That's part of the thing of doing a crazy goal, right? So anyway, let's say if you CEO map, she's the target person, and they work together. You're going to constantly be mining the world for these targets. A lot of them will come from the map, and you'll see what an innovation target is when we do it there. So you have to have an innovation target, okay? Now let's get to the most fun one in a way. What do you do with your target? Let's say it's getting AI into your stuff. Put it in the middle of the board, and we get the magic formula. You ask 7 specific questions about your target. These are meta questions. You can ask them about any project. Hey, how did I get to these 7? We had students from Berkeley and Hult. Remember we said the innovation leap? How do you make the leap? Asking questions, right? Explicit or implicit, right? So we found 75 questions that have been asked throughout human history about the status quo to get the status novo. Isn't that interesting? And we couldn't find any more. But if you were going to meet with your CEO and you wanted to innovate, and I came to your office and said, here's 75 questions, what would you say to me? Get out of the office, right? That doesn't help him. So we beat the list, and he was like, all right, maybe it's the 48 best questions. Would you be interested in that? That's too many, right? What about 24? What about 7? Yeah. 12 was on the cusp. You could still say to me, I don't have the time, and I'd be like, all right, fine. 7, that's on you. If you can't ask 7 questions that a child can understand, you don't care about innovation. So we kind of wanted to do it so made sure people use it, right? And these are also in the right order. So let me show you the questions. And by the way, if you just, I won't tell you all the research behind it, but we've done this hundreds of times. If you ask these 7 questions about anything, here's what you get. In an hour, you get between really 35 and 50 ideas up on the board. How many of them are new? 50 to 80%. You're going to get 25 to 30-ish new ideas in an hour. In the age of the brilliant machines, is that important? Right? That's generating the ideas. Okay, so let me show you the questions. Here's your target over here. This is about you. Everyone in this room, think about something you're working on. This is what you ask. What can we look at in a new way from a new perspective? What can we use in a new way for the first time? What do we move, changing position in time and space? What do we interconnect in a different way for the first time? What do we alter and change? Design, performance, the vibe, the tone, the overall experience. What do we make, creating something truly new? And what do we imagine to create a great experience? This is the easiest question. This is the hardest question. If I do a great brainstorming session for your innovation target and I don't look at this list, how many of these questions do I naturally use? 1 or 2, maybe. You got to use them all. This is a checklist. I'll give you an example. Who knows Henry Ford and the assembly line? Right? Where did he get that idea from? The meatpacking industry. He moved it from totally different industry, and he just moved it in. We could move the animals that way, and we move the cars that way. That changed his company. That changed American history, world history. He moved something from one realm to another realm. You've got to do that. More importantly, you have to remember to do that. Because if you're in your little meeting trying to innovate, you're not going to consciously think we got to move stuff from another realm. You think it's irrelevant, right? Make money is new, right? If you had a cow and I had 14 chickens, like, yeah, let's do a switch. That's the barter system, right? He comes up with this idea, no, that's stupid. Let's take this rock and pretend it has value. That's genius, right? So sometimes you should be saying, what can we make that's totally new, right? So anyway, this is what we've tested for years. These questions are extremely powerful. And I call these the 9:17 in the morning questions, right? You have a big meeting this afternoon. You're getting some flack for not having fresh thinking. You don't have time to go off and do a retreat, right? To go to the beach and like do these retreats. You ask 7 questions. It's a quick way to look at ideas behind your head. Okay? And again, I didn't make these up. These are the best questions in history. Statistically, these are the ones that show up the most. 350 innovation leaps. How do they happen? This is how they happen. I'll give you an example. We created the spear 400,000 years ago. This is about interconnect, right? Now, I'm fighting you. We're tribes. Spear, spear. He's good at the spear. I'm good at the spear. What's the next step in human warfare? Bow and what? Okay. How long did it take our genius ancestors to simply connect a sharp stick to something that goes boing? So easy. 391,000 years. What were we doing the whole time? See the point? It's just interconnecting. It was there. You know, you use the stone hand axe and there's the catgut in the animal. No one thought to connect it. That's why statistically this is the most common. And all up to sophisticated today. There's so much stuff around. Asking that question, what can we interconnect? When I do this in consulting, pop, 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 the ideas go up on the board, right? So that's just one example of it. This is also another example why we don't innovate. If he and I are both good at the spear, and he comes along with this bow and arrow idea, what's my reaction going to be? It diminishes my power. I don't understand it. Maybe it's not. The better you are at something, the worse you are at seeing the next thing. Isn't that weird? The better you are at the spear, you're not going to see her bow and arrow. That's a cautionary tale. So you need a technique to make you look in those new ways, right? And so the older you get, the smarter you get, the more experienced you get, the more likely you're going to be the spear person, right? But guess what? Someone's coming up with this. And by the way, another problem, you've perfected the spear. It's beautiful, right? Your current systems are beautiful. This thing is ugly, right? Guess what, though? It's not always going to be ugly. And then it's going to win. So that's a simple way to say it, right? If you're good at anything, beware. Because the next thing that's coming, you might not forget you thinking of it. You might not even recognize it, right? So you got to have techniques to get out of your own head. Okay. So look, use, move, interconnect, alter, make, and imagine. I could give you hundreds and hundreds of examples, but those are the questions. How do you remember it? Look, use, move, interconnect, alter, make, and imagine. Does anyone see a mnemonic device in there? Has anyone been to Miami? You know who's been to Miami? Your new innovation mentor. He looks like a dumbass, but he's a genius. It's Lou from Miami. Hey! See? Oh, I got an O. Do you want to date Lou from Miami? You excited? Whoa, Lou from Miami. Does anyone recognize this actor? Yeah, it's Matt Dillon. But forget that. Don't say that. He's Lou from Miami, okay? This we do as a mnemonic device, right? Now, again, you might think this is funny, but look, use, move, interconnect, alter, make, and imagine. I've had hours and hours and hours of debates with people. I don't think you can change these 7 questions. So you see the point? If you're busy and you're worried and you want to innovate, boom, you ask these questions, you get the widest range of ideas. Here's the rest. Remember I said 75? Here's the rest of them. There are 6 ways to look at anything in the world, right? There are 6 ways to use anything. You see the point? Think of it as a big house. You take your idea, bring it in the big rooms, but now bring it there, right? I could tell you every single question on this board gives you different ideas than the main question. Does that make sense? So I used to say, I know you're busy. You're not going to ask 49 questions about what you're working on. But now that the machines are coming, you know what I say? You should be asking these questions. You see the difference? It's more imperative that we generate new ideas and do the human thing now that technology is coming, okay? Here's the California version. Look at this. Ready? Here's the colorful version. Hey, man, just put your target in here, right? And then you're going to ask the blue questions. And then, this is the colorful one, right? I don't care what color it is. Ask the questions, right? And if you never see these slides again, just think Lou Miami and look, use. You can remember it. Lou from Miami. That's the answer, right? That's 3.5 million years of innovation in a simple little package for you. So why do you do this? What's the CEO question? The CEO question is, where is Toby? Who's Toby? That one big idea. Ha, 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 right? The one big idea. This generates tons of ideas, but the thing to keep on the lookout for is the one big idea. You look back in history, what changed things? That one big idea. Airbnb versus Hilton, right? I like to say this sometimes. So I work at Hilton. I'm the president. You're my innovation guy. Make the pillows softer. Make the rooms cleaner, and make the food a little better. Could you do that for me? That's innovative. And meanwhile, Airbnb comes and hits them on the head, right? The Airbnb 2x4, that's a big idea, right? That's what changes history. That's what changes your career. So look for lots of ideas, but look for the one big idea. Does that make sense? 80-20 rule. Look for the thing that's going to have what? A significant impact, right? Okay, so now, okay, you're the CEO. See, now he's mad at me. We have a map. We have our targets. We picked a target. AI in the product, we generated 50 ideas. So now he's like, thank you, consultant. I got 50 ideas. What do I do? I'm glad you asked. Here's a simple way to prioritize what we should do or not, okay? And it came from me judging startup competitions. Do you know Shark Tank at all? Those things? So, you know, I'm 55 for 20 years now. It's like, could you judge a startup competition? Okay. People with venture capital and ideas, you know, and people whose backs don't hurt, because like I'm a little low there, up and pitching, and I kicked you out of first round, you went to the next round, I kicked you out. You know, you get the power of God to say yes and no. Why did I kick you out? The first thing is, wild. Your idea was not wild on a 1 to 10. It was like a 3. It's boring. Everybody's kind of doing it. Like, I know you worked hard, and it's kind of boring. He's already doing it. They're doing it at conferences. Wild is why I kick you out. So we thought, well, a good idea on the board would be really wild, like an 8 to a 10. A 5 wild is like this, and a 1 is like today, e-commerce would be like a 1, right? Blockchain and Bitcoin, where are they? They're over here, right? The cool stuff is always over here, right? So the first thing we ask about any idea up on the wall, because we're trying to help him, what does he do? We say, well, it should be pretty wild, right? Wild in the best sense, competitive edge, business, et cetera. Not just wild, but it should be a wild idea, okay? It should also be worldly, though, right? If I kicked you out of the competition, it's like, you have a good idea, but the way you're doing it is crazy. It's never going to happen that way, right? So you get low marks on practical, doable, affordable. A 10 is we could do it tomorrow for free. A 5 is like, yeah, we have to add some more money. A 1 is no, we're never going to do it, right? So you see the point? Again, he's going to talk to the board of directors soon. He's got to decide what to work on, right? So the simple way to do it is we say, okay, idea number 1. And everybody votes. How wild is idea number 1? And I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everyone raises their hand, right? The first type of idea, it's a 3 wild, boring, and it's a 3 worldly, hard to do. Don't do these. Life is too short. It looked good on the board, but don't do it. Here's the dangerous one. So let's say he has an idea. We vote. 1, 2, 3. It's a 3 wild. It's kind of boring, but it is doable. You see the danger here? Oh, innovation. The impact is almost nothing, but it's doable. Innovation, right? Sky and Maya will do this in the innovation lab, right? And then the CEO says to the board, well, yes, we're very innovative. Have you seen idea number 2? And they don't know it's up in this quadrant. He just presents it to the board. Do you see the danger, though? This is a boring idea that you can do. Should you do it? No. This is where innovation goes to die. This is terrible, right? Now let's say you have an idea. The third idea is the best kind, 7-3. You know what that means? The whole group has voted as a 7. That means Soya thinks it's a 10. He even thinks it's a 6. It averages out. It's like a 7. This is where you start. This is pretty wild, right? But it's a 3. It's not yet practical. In a lot of companies, if you come up with the idea, I can say, hey, we don't have the money, and I shut you down, right? But now you can say, hey, genius, that's why it's down here. It's not yet practical. What are we going to do? Let's make it more practical. For example, if this idea is put AI in all the products, right? Okay, so I say, make it 1 notch more practical. And he goes, I don't know, open source software, boom, now it's more affordable. He says government grant, now it's a 7.5. Your competition is afraid of this, but we're not, right? We're going to make it easier. Then he goes like this, oh, God, we just hired a VP of AI. She has a $120 million budget. She's going to give us this. Now it's a 7.7. See that? Boom. We moved it into the comfort, the best part here. Anything 7.7 and northeast, that's a project. Why? And you keep going. A 7.7 idea, I've seen this hundreds of times. The executives are usually looking at it like it's a wild animal on the wall. They can't believe it. They're looking at it going, I can't believe that. That's a great idea and we can do it? You see the face? It's a surprise. Normally you think it's either a great idea, but it's not practical. We just collapsed it so it's both. Do you see how, remember, it's an art and it had to establish something in the world? You can't establish something with impact in the world unless it's wild, but also what? It has to be worldly. Does that make sense? But don't go away, CEO, if it's a 7.7. Get it to a 7.8, an 8.8. You ratchet it up. So we leave our session with, can you picture what a 9.9 is like? Everybody in the room is, how worldly is it? And I say the numbers. The crazy guys in the room or gals are saying it's a 10 wild. I love it. Even the conservative is saying, I don't know, it's sort of like a 7. It's a 9.9. A 9, 5 minutes? Okay. A 9.9 is something that can change your career. Remember we said Toby, the big idea? Can you see how, we just put it on a map. And anything up here, can you see how this is powerful? You getting the concept, right? And then you go back to your company and someone says, that's not practical. Ho, ho, ho. We voted, yes, it is, because we voted it as a 9 worldly, right? Do you see the point? This is not just innovation for its own sake. That's down here. If you stop here, you'll never launch anything. Remember we said you have to get the ball in the goal? This is how you get the ball in the goal, right? And what do you do once you have a 9.9 or something? You turn it into a project. Do you see how it fits together? Please draw the map. That will engender targets. For each target, widest range of ideas, right? And then you prioritize wild and worldly, folks. Wild and worldly. Again, do you see how simple it is? That's what's changed the world. Any innovator that's changed the world has been able to do both, right? You turn it into a project and you elevate it. You say, this is an innovation project, and you call it that because in most companies, here's the real work and here's the innovation, if you can get to it. In a healthy company, real work and innovation. But then in bad times, oh, it goes down here. You got to put innovation up here. You got to get in people's face a little bit and say, no, that's an innovation project. We're not cutting that. See the point? And if you have a process like this that leads to it, maybe you can defend it a little bit better. I have 4 minutes left, right? 4 minutes, okay. All right, I think I can tell a llama joke in 3 minutes. This is related to this. Now I want to contextualize this. This is 7 years of research. Here's the genome here, right? Remember we said you have to score? This is the market. This is the company, this is the world. The only thing that matters on this board as a metric is this, right? You established it in the world, it's an innovation. In order to do that, you have to launch some stuff. In order to do that, you have to establish some projects. In order to do that, you need a process. The genome is one project, right? This, though, is a 10-part metric. My recommendation to CEOs is I want you to put this in your company, ask everybody 1 to 10. Let's say you're the CEO. I'm going to try to scare you. So guess what? You're going to get a 1 to 10 from your people, right? Everyone's going to say 1 to 10. If they think you care about innovation, you get like an 8. If they don't, you're going to go like a 2, right? This is a diagnostic, a way to tell what's happening in the company, right? And again, I could go into more detail, but all of these are important. But the only thing that's super important is this, right? This wild, worldly ideas are the only things that make it out to here, okay? So that's just a way to put this in context. Real innovation is when you establish something in the world. It's super difficult, but also super rewarding. All right, who's ready for, all right, okay, Einstein, here's my equation, because you're not going to do innovation. I equals mt squared. Who knows what it is? Whoa, good for you. Have a meeting every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Have innovation is having a meeting every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Oh, but I'm busy. No, you're not. Whatever you do this Tuesday at 10 a.m., if you look back in time, it's not going to be that important, okay? I'm only half joking. Put it on your schedule. You don't have to use my techniques. Put it, does anyone here have anything on the schedule right now? Right? You guys have appointments and stuff. This should also be up there. That's all I'm saying. Innovation, if you care about it, it's got to go on your schedule. And so I do a goofy thing like that. It's kind of a joke. All right, llama joke. Who's ready for a llama joke? Okay? Who's ready for me to be done? That includes me. Okay. All right. Okay. We talked about innovation, right? Main thing is established in the world. We talked about Autodesk a little bit, right? And how we innovate. We watch the innovators and we try to get principles. We talked about the history of innovation, right? I believe those are the 5 things you have to do. Why? Because that's the only way the world has changed, those 5 things, right? Now let's go back to Silicon Valley for a second. So we talked about this. You guys know the statistics, right? Amount of venture capital given in America, 33% of the venture capital goes to San Francisco. I think that's the number. And it's like 800,000 people here, right? So something really wild is happening here, right? And we've talked about the ecosystem and the academia and the technology. I'm going to give you a really conceptual thing that really makes me think what this place is different, okay? So remember we said, like, if you gave me an idea, everywhere else the normal response is, no, prove it to me, even if I like you. Here the idea is more like, I don't know, let's try it, because it's an art, right? So here's a joke about llamas and dentists. Is dentist translate? How do you say dentist in your languages? Dentist? There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to say dentist. Okay. What do I know? I'm from New York. What do I know? So I'm going to talk about dentists and llamas, but I'm going to make the point that how powerful it is when you say yes before no, okay? So here, I'm going to say I meet you because you happen to be here. So I'm in New York, right? And I meet him at a party, and I'm going to do the New York accent. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, right? This is what New Yorkers are sometimes like, right? Listen, I got to run an idea by you. I'm a dentist, right? And I see you, you're eating the finger foods, the hors d'oeuvres, you're stuffing your face. Let me just talk to you for a second, okay? I'm a dentist, and if you were my patient, you know, you go to the dentist, you get nervous. They're going to hurt you. I don't want my patients to get scared, right? So I have an idea to calm down my patients and see what you think. I'm going to take a llama. Bear with me. I'm going to bring it in the car, right? I'm going to bring it into the office in the elevator. Don't get scared. He's going to get a procedure done. I'm going to bring the llama. Hello, hi. Bring the llama, put it right next to you in the dentist chair. And then hopefully you get calmed down. He gets nervous. He's like, I'm nervous. Oh, there's a llama next to me. And he laughs and it's fun, right? You see the point? What do you think about the idea of a llama in a dentist's office right next to you, right? Now let's pause, right? Okay? What is the response to that crazy idea? There's 3 responses. Now let's pretend he's the dentist. He has just come up to me at a party and said he wants to put a llama next to me at the dentist's office. Here's what the New Yorker says to that idea. Ready? What are you, a schmuck? It's the stupidest, forget about it. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And I proceed to make fun of him for like 5 minutes. A llama, it's going to poop all, oh, come on, right? I'm making fun of him, right? Joking aside, how does he feel about his idea? Now he's a little embarrassed. By the way, there's a therapy pig at SFO. There is a pig at the airport that you can pet it and calm yourself down. There is. And in my dentist's office, there's been a dog for 21 years. I had a procedure last year. That's how I got the idea. And I was like, oh, this is going to hurt. And I was like, oh, there's a dog. I'm petting the dog. I felt better. It works. But now let's realize, here's the new idea, llama in a dentist's office. Nobody knows if it's going to work or not, right? He tells it to me. New York, normal place. Ah, you're a schmuck, all right? What's the response in Boston, Massachusetts? Anyone been to Boston? Boston's even tougher. Here's the response in Boston. Boston wants to make fun of you, but in a group. That's the difference, right? So I say, a llama in a dentist's office, hold on. Come here, listen to what this guy's saying. Hey, llama boy, llama boy, llama boy. And you got 5 guys going, llama boy, mocking him. Hey, whoa, is the llama going to be trained? Is it going to floss my teeth with its fur? All these horrifying jokes. Boston, funniest place I think of, right? So ready? This poor guy, he's got a new idea. New York, you're a schmuck, right? Boston, llama boy, rest of his life. You see him on Cape Cod, I don't even have to say anything. It's just like, llama boy. Hey, it's llama boy, right? Embarrassed. What is the San Francisco response to this poor man? Oh, good, yes. All right, don't step on the punchline though, okay? God damn it. Okay, you're basically right. So he says, what about a llama in a dentist's office in San Francisco? The response is this. What kind of llama? Why don't you get like 2 llamas and they could work together maybe? And he's like, I know a llama in Petaluma. I'll be right back. And he goes that afternoon and he brings it back, right? So you got it. What kind of llama? Now again, I understand you see all these big companies and all this technology. Do you see the different response? How do you feel about your idea now? He's like, they're helping me out. The people in this area are crazy. He suggests a llama in a dentist's office, and my response is, yeah, let's try it. I have a llama right over here. Do you want to do it right now? Do you want 2? What if we put a pig on back of the llama? And then we crowdsourced it with kale funding, and we had like it's just ideas. And the idea, most places the idea is just killed right away, and you have to fight like crazy. Right? And here it's like, you have a crazy idea, let's go. He's going to fund it. Do you like a llama idea? And he's like, I'll fund it. I'm going to bring you to my my lawyer. And then I got to, everyone's like, yeah, come with me to the crazy idea. Now, if it's a bad idea, it's going to fail. And then we're going to talk about it forever. It's hilarious. We don't care. I mean, this is what it's like here, right? The craziest idea possible, we'll try it and nobody cares if it fails. Now, this is conceptual, but let me bring you back to that slide. 57 Muir companies, right? How many unicorns? Most in the world. What else is it? I ask you. So this is one of my points. The spirit of the llama, joking, moving out of the joking part, is this idea that, like, remember, we don't know. Nobody can predict it. This is the market. You can't predict it with your PhD. The most humble and intelligent way to approach his crazy ideas is to go, I don't know, maybe. The wilder, the better, right? Because maybe we can make it more practical. And if you don't care about failure, I like the wild idea, right? So anyway, I'm wrapping it up. But basically, the point I'm making is you can look at all the data, And that's the what. But if you want the why, I think it lies in this thing, the idea that the crazy idea, what kind of llama? It's friendly, it's open, I want to help you. If it's a bad idea, we'll find out later. I'm not going to crush your idea right now. I think that's the main thing that separates Silicon Valley from all the other places in the world with money and technology and people, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, my points are 5 techniques that have been 3.5 million years. I equals MC squared. Einstein's great, but also remember this one, right? And then the spirit of the llama. Yes before no. Ideas are good until proven bad. That is the intangible that I think sets the Bay Area apart from other places. And the nice thing is you can bring that anywhere with you on the planet, and I encourage you to do so. Thank you very much. Thank you.